Hey, y'all. Uh, in America, I think we love meatloaf. Am I correct? And I've got several meatloaf recipes that are my favorite. My Aunt Peggy's traditional meatloaf is delicious. I get a lot of feedback on it. And then when we're in the smaller restaurant down the street, we served a cheeseburger meatloaf with a cheese sauce, and people loved it. And I'm going to be making that in another video soon. But today I'm making, and I have to keep myself from getting confused, I'm making a cheeseburger meatloaf, but not the cheeseburger meatloaf with the sauce. So I'm going to start with about 6 pieces of bacon. And I don't like, the recipe calls for cooked bacon, but when I'm using bacon that's going to get cooked again, I don't want it like crispy. I want some of the fat still left in bacon. So I'm going to cut this up, and it's going to be going into our hamburger mixture. In fact, Troy and I, the GM at the Lady and Sons, we're working on a new menu for the restaurant. And I noticed that, how did I leave meatloaf off the menu? So we're bringing meatloaf back because it's, like I said, just one of people's favorite things. We grew up on meatloaf. All right, so I got that chopped, and it's just simple. A nice ground beef, an onion, and naturally the bacon, and an egg. So remember, if you want some of the bacon fat, don't cook your bacon, all the way crispy, because this is cooked perfectly where I'm going to have flavor also from the bacon. All right. Oatmeal, cheese, and that's why we're calling it a cheeseburger meatloaf. Ketchup, mayonnaise. Mayonnaise makes everything better, just like that butter. I was so distressed yesterday because I didn't have a teaspoon of butter in my house. And butter and mayonnaise, I get the chili willies if I get to a point where I don't have those 2 things. All right, so, and meatloaf to me is better just mixing it by hand.
Oh.
I'm going to put a little salt and pepper in this too, I think. Just a little. We can always add more at the table. Now, this meatloaf is similar to my Aunt Peggy's meatloaf because we're going to put a kind of a sweet topping on it. All right, but I just washed my hands, so I'm going in and mixing this. Finish mixing it by hand. Okay. Like I said, we if we use a whole can of diced tomatoes, it would make this too soupy. So, like I said, I'm going to use like a half a can. We'll just go pull out what I think is half a can. That looks like a half a can, doesn't it, Eddie?
Yep. Rồi. Thôi.
This is going to be so good. And I love a meatloaf sandwich. Do you like a meatloaf sandwich, Eddie?
I do.
Love a meatloaf sandwich. Okay. Now, this is just something that I have done for years. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. But, if you've got a grade of hamburger meat, it's like a 70-30. I mean, there'd be a lot of fat in it. But, if you're using like a 90-10, 90% meat and 30% fat. And I just would put this bread down in my casserole dish so it could soak up any grease. Like I said, if you're using a hamburger meat that's got low fat, probably wouldn't need it. But you'd be amazed at the fat that bread will soak up. In fact, my family kind of likes to nibble on that bread. But that's not what it's used for. That's not what it's supposed to be. So I'm just going to form this into a loaf. I'm going to mold it real good so it won't crack or come apart.
Good.
That's a pretty meatloaf, isn't it, Eddie?
Big.
Huh? It's big? Yeah. Yeah, that one little pound of hamburger went a long way, didn't it? By the time we added stuff to it. All right, this cheeseburger meatloaf does have a little sauce to go on top, and that's brown sugar, ketchup, and a little mustard. And this just makes that meatloaf so tasty. And if you want to double this recipe, by all means do it, because I like kind of a nice thick coating. And sometimes I'll wait until my meatloaf is like half done and then spread this out. So, and you know what? I think that's what I'm going to do today. I think I'm going to let it cook for a little while and then I'll spread that on. So, and I'll just cook away. All right, I think I got that patted down good. So we're going to cook this from anywhere from 45 minutes to 60 minutes. Yum. But halfway through, I'll come back and put the topping on it. I would double this recipe, y'all, on the topping, but that's just me. But I'm going to take our meatloaf out because it's been cooking for 20 minutes. Okay. So I didn't want this to evaporate because, see, that's not a whole bunch of sauce. And that sauce just makes it so tasty. But see, if I had put that on at the start of the cooking, it would eventually almost disappear, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want my sauce disappearing. So that's the good part. Okay. I'm going to set it for 20 more minutes. So that would bring us to 40 minutes cooking time. And I'll probably need to run it back another 5 or 10 minutes. Now I wound up cooking that for 60 minutes. And you can see that there was not much fat in this meat, not a whole bunch of grease, and you see how that worked by me putting on that topping halfway through the cooking after 20 minutes. See, it just kind of caramelized a little bit, but it didn't go away. And if you wanted to, you could take the meatloaf off that bread, but I just usually leave it on there and then peel it off when I slice it. Put it up here so y'all can see it good. Ooh, I am so hungry. Oh, so good. That bacon just brings a wonderful flavor to this meatloaf. A wonderful flavor. I can't hardly wait for a sandwich. And that topping is just perfectly sweet. With the savory of the loaf. So you can certainly make this ahead of time and just throw it back in the oven for a few minutes to heat it back up, or slice it and throw it in the microwave, or slice it and put it in a skillet like you would a hamburger. Either way, I think y'all gonna love this. One more great recipe down. Love and best dishes to all of y'all out there.
Hey y'all, it's Paula Deen. Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it and click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell to be alerted when I post a video. Love and best dishes, y'all.